What's going on, guys? Don Marino here. Today, I really want to show you the thought process behind picking out and upgrading your PC parts. Let's get into it. So recently upgraded my PC. I had a 1050 Ti in it, an Intel Pentium, 2-core processor, hyper-threaded for 4 cores, B250 motherboard, and that was about all that I chucked out and replaced. But really, the biggest thing that I had problems with was finding out how to go about upgrading your computer. And that's why, as you can see, we're on PC Part Picker right now. It is the best website to help you understand what works together and what won't work together, and what you can salvage from your old, computer, and what you might not be able to. So the first thing I would do is I'd just hop over to System Builder, and if you know what you have here, just start entering it in. Just start throwing your CPU, start throwing your motherboard, your memory storage, everything right here, and then we'll start from there. So I do have my full complete parts list right here from everything that was in my old computer, and I kind of want to run you through the thought process that I had when upgrading mine. So the first thing that I had to sit down and think about was going to be the CPU, because everything kind of melds around that. Your motherboard is really going to be based on that, the CPU, and then, everything else can kind of branch off. So that's really where I started. So with something like this, I can edit my parts list, and I can go over to my CPU. So after I go to edit my parts list, I'll remove my CPU because I'm no longer going to want that one, and I'm going to choose one. So the biggest thing with a PC build or upgrading is a budget. So you have to understand where to budget your money and how to allocate. I wanted to spend about $400, so realistically, the best thing I could get to upgrade to was going to be a Ryzen processor. And honestly, at this point in the game, unless you are strictly gaming, that is the only thing you're doing with your machine, you're not doing anything else, no video editing, it's 100% gaming, then I can see where you might want to go with something like an i5. However, honestly, Ryzen or AMD is just killing it so hard right now that I couldn't see going with anything other than them. So right now it's only giving me Intel because my motherboard only works with Intel, so I'm going to need to go back and remove that too, since I know I'm going to need to replace that. So you want to kind of keep whatever you're going to keep on there and get rid of whatever you're going to get rid of. So I know I'm going to get rid of my video card because I want to upgrade that. So this is kind of where I'm at. I need a new CPU, motherboard, and a video card. So like I said, I'm going to start around the CPU. So you open it up, and right away it gives you the top ones are the AMD Ryzen 3600 and 2600. So this is where you need to make a decision. Looking at some comparisons on YouTube, I'll link some down below, some of the comparisons between the Ryzen 2600 and 3600. For me, the 2600 fit my budget. So with that, keeping in mind that the 3600 will drop down in price and hit the used market, and eventually it'd be something I can find for a decent price, I kept in mind that I might want to upgrade, or even when they come out with their next generation of 4600, because AMD has talked about staying up to date and staying with this idea that they're gonna have this, you're gonna be able to use the same motherboard socket for a little while now. So with this, I was like, you know what, I'm going 2600. It really comes down to, like I said, price and what you're looking for. Gaming wise, most of the things that are going to be taxing on your computer for gaming is going to be the video card. There are some games now that do use a decent amount of processing data. For what I needed it for, I was going to do some video editing and I was going to do some gaming. That was the two big things that I was going to do with it. And the Ryzen 5 fit the budget. Now, if I had a little bit extra money to spend, I would have gone with the 2700, as you can see here. Probably not the 2700X, because that's going to be the overclocked one, which, if you're comfortable with overclocking and you're comfortable with computers, that's something you can do for free and not have to pay the extra money. So as you can see, the 2700s right here for 150. It was 30 bucks more. It was just a little bit out of the price range. I could have saved up that little extra, that 30 bucks, but I used that for something else, and I'll show you what. So come over here and I'll hit add. Now for the motherboard, this is really going to be the thing that if you decide you want to go with Intel or AMD for the next few years, and you know that you want to go down that upgrade path, this is really going to be the thing to think about and to put a little bit more of the budget into, so you don't have to go and upgrade it again and chuck the one you have in there. So honestly, a B54 is about as low as I would go, because you can overclock it, you can overclock on it, and honestly it's just going to be the best bang for your buck, that in between stage. It's not going to be too high end. I think a B54 motherboard for most people, they're going to do some casual overclocking, nothing crazy, and are just looking for a decent board. This is what they're going to want to look at, something in this realm. So the B54, the Tomahawks, the MSI Tomahawks are supposed to be really good. Gigamite makes a decent board. They have like the cheapest board you could buy. I'll show you which one I ended up going with. So this is the board I ended up deciding on. The reason I went with this board, one, it was the one suggested to me, and two, I did buy my parts not, from or through PC Part Picker. I bought them at Micro Center, so I got a bundle deal, and this was the motherboard that came with that bundle, and it works. It was micro ATX, which is what I previously had, so that's what I wanted to stick with. 64 gigs of RAM max, 4 DIMM slots, which is plenty of RAM. I'm only running 8 right now. DDR4 memory support, like I said, 4 slots. It's got 2 PCI slots, which was interesting to me. PCI 16 slots, so that was nice. It does have the onboard Ethernet. It doesn't have a Wi-Fi card, so you will need something for that. But my thought process behind this was B54. I did want to do a little bit of overclocking and kind of just experiment with that. And I just wanted something that in the future, if I wanted to go up to a 3600 or even the 4600 when it came out, I would just have to do an upgrade on the motherboard and be able to pop a new CPU in without a problem. So the GPUs, what's next, and it's going to be a very difficult choice because there's such a compact arena for GPUs right now, especially over in Nvidia's corner. AMD is a little bit less muddy, but when you combine it all together, you got a lot going on. So for me, I really wanted to stream. That was something that I do. I stream over on Twitch, mostly Call of Duty, Apex. Go follow me, shout out. But I wanted to stream, so I needed something that would be good for that. And if you're looking at streaming, the best thing you can do is get something like a 1650 or up at least. You will get the NVENC encoder, which is super good. It's going to take the load off of your CPU, put it on your GPU, and the encoders that Nvidia has are really good right now. So that's the advantage you're getting over an AMD GPU. So I can go and choose a video card, and they're going to give me a bunch of options here. So like I said, the Radeon GPUs are going to be the best bang for your... So the Radeon GPUs will be your best bang for the buck if you do not plan on streaming. If you are strictly planning on playing games and editing, if anything like that, then you're going to want to look most likely into a Radeon GPU. If you really want the ray tracing, of course you're gonna have to go up to the 2060 minimum, the 2060 KO. I know it's like the newest one they just came out with to compete with the 5600 or the 5700, I believe. But so for this, it's gonna come down to what you need and your budget. So my thought process, I wrote down 2 things I need. I want to be able to game at 1080p at 120 frames minimum. That's where I want to be at because I want to upgrade my monitor eventually. See, I'm thinking about upgrade paths. So I want to upgrade my monitor eventually. Second, I want to be able to stream with it. I want the NVENC encoder. So first, I automatically knew I'm gonna need to go with something over in Nvidia's corner. So immediately I got rid of everything that wasn't Nvidia. So then I kind of thought, what was going to fit my price point? My price point, I needed three things. One of them was going to be the GPU, one of them was going to be the CPU, and one of them was going to be the motherboard. These are the three things that I wanted to upgrade for about $400. That's the budget I was trying to stay under. So between my CPU and my motherboard, I was spending about $200. So that gave me about $200 to spend on my GPU. So as you can see, it's the first one here. It's a GTX 1660. It's a 6GB card. However, the difference between the 1660 and the 16 Super is actually a decent jump. As you can see here, we have the 1660 Ti right here for a whole almost $80 more expensive. The reason I went with the Super was because it was kind of in between. It was $30 more expensive, as you can see. However, it went from DDR5 memory to DDR6, which made it substantially faster when it came to gaming performance for that $30 extra. You know, everything is percentage wise when you're looking at a computer and making it faster. You don't want to look at the percentage of the item itself. So as you can see, it was $33 more. So it's an X amount percentage more than the other card. However, what you want to look at is how much it's going to be more overall in the whole system and how much more performance it'll give you. See, that $33 in my whole system is a lot less money, so that makes the performance gain I'm going to get a lot bigger, you know, per percentage. So this is kind of what I came up with. This is my thought process. You know, there wasn't without a lot of thinking and a lot of going through things. You know, like I said, I'll link some benchmarks down below. Some people that do great benchmark testing on every new product that comes out against the old ones, against each other, against the, you know, like a 2600 versus the 2700. You know, what the differences are, how much you can overclock it. Most people can overclock this 3.4 gigahertz Ryzen 5 to 4 no problem. You know, some people can overclock it like crazy. I think you need a nicer cooler than the one it comes with, but that goes without saying. So the last thing I upgraded, as you can see here, right here it does say I have this one added. This is not the one I added. So I added right here, I added this Western Digital 500 gigabyte drive. Now with memory is interesting because this was 500 gigabytes for 64, but for an extra 45, I could have got another 500 gigabytes, so a whole terabyte. Memory is interesting like that. The more you buy, the cheaper it gets per gigabyte. So that's something to keep in mind. But I got that. Honestly, of all the things I bought, I will say this. I'm gonna make another video on this, but of all the things I bought, the SSD made the biggest difference in day-to-day performance. You know, in opening applications, when going in and doing things like that, the SSD made a huge difference, and it was honestly the first thing you should think about upgrading. But like I said, I'm gonna make another video on that. So the final thing I wanted to talk about was the coolest thing about PC Part Picker is it gives you an estimated wattage, how much, you know, based on how much watts these items are supposed to pull, and it estimates to you if your power supply will be good enough. So I upgraded quite a few things on my computer. The things I did keep were my RAM, my case, I kept my power supply, and memory. So I kept about 4 things. So altogether, once said and done, I was a little bit over my $400 budget. But now I have a computer that is upgraded to what I want it to be. It performs the way I want it to and does what I want it to do. I had a problem with this. My problem was I wanted to upgrade my computer, but I didn't know which path to go down. The best thing you do is sit down, write yourself a list of the things that you want to achieve when upgrading your computer. Say right now you're gaming at 1080p, but you're struggling to get 60 frames. That's where I was at. I was gaming at 1080p, but with the dual core Pentium and with my 1050 Ti, I was struggling to get that 60 frames consistently in new modern games. So I needed that upgrade. I was starting to get into YouTube, so I needed a better editing system, which is why I got the Ryzen. You know, I went from a 4-core to essentially, I went from a 2-core to a 6-core, hyper-threaded up to 12, threads, which has made a world of a difference when it comes to editing. One, everything is smoother, it's more integrated and easy to deal, and render times have been cut down dramatically for me. So I know this was a long, lengthy video, and it was really just me wanting to get my thought process out on how I upgraded my computer and how you should kind of start the process of upgrading yours. So really quick, number one, find a budget. How much you want to spend. Number two, what you want to achieve. And number three is going to be the research and looking up benchmark tests and what is going to fit into that budget to achieve what you want to achieve. Keep it realistic. If I said I want to do 4K gaming at 144 hertz, I want a beast machine that's going to render a 4K video that's an hour long and 3 minutes, but I want to spend $200. It's not realistic. You got to keep it within a realistic budget. So before you even make a budget, maybe price things out so you can see where you might need to cut things out. For me, if I needed to cut something out, it would have been the graphics card. I would have cut the graphics card because the other things were more important. Now, I will say this. If you can upgrade one thing on your computer, just one thing, upgrade to a solid state drive. And then think about upgrading to new things. I promise you that $65 you spend on a 500 gigabyte or even less, you can spend $25 and get 120 just to boot drive, just to boot things, and put like 1, maybe 2 applications on it. It is night and day difference. I got a video coming out on that. Stay tuned for that one. I appreciate you guys watching this video and riding through the whole thing. I know it was long. Thank you. Go down, subscribe. Until I got something else for you guys, thanks for watching.